Welcome to a new video on my channel in which I will categorize as editorials. In my editorials, I will give my perspective on certain elements in fiction writing like in animes, comics, movies, video games, etc. I do this in a tutorial format because I don't just operate my opinions, but as someone who loves good stories and love to write good stories, even though my contribution on writing still stays on fanfic.net, read it please! I want to give in contributions in how to make a particular story better. With that out of the way, let's talk about the DCCW Universe, particularly Arrow, Flash, and Legends of Tomorrow. But I'm only going to focus on Arrow and Flash because Legends of Tomorrow hasn't finished yet and I cannot give in my informed opinion about it. If you love Flash, Arrow, and Legends of Tomorrow, you're not the only one. I freaking love their shows. They're dumb, fun superhero shows that I enjoy because they're dumb, fun superhero shows. However, as time went on, it started to get dumber and dumber to the point where I can't find myself enjoying them anymore. And I want to make this video to essentially complain about how bad they are right now. Yes, I know you hate people's complaining and whining and bitching, but I don't whine. Okay, I do, but I whine with legit points and critiques. The reason why I do this is because I want these shows to be better than what they are, and there's nothing wrong with admitting the criticisms to a show that you like, because when you watch a particular series, there's always that point in time where you start to notice the degrade in quality. I noticed that in Future Diary, I noticed that in One Punch Man, I noticed that in Ergo Proxy, I noticed that in Evangelion, I noticed that in Charlotte, I noticed that in Elfen Lied, and of course, I noticed them in Flash and Arrow. Now, keep in mind that Flash and Arrow are stupidly entertaining shows, but the stupidity sometimes go way beyond my suspension of disbelief. I don't expect much from them, of course, but I can at least expect a little more. While they are definitely in some ways good, or at least entertaining, you can't deny that they can be better. The biggest problem that I have with these three shows, like the lack of subtlety on the writing, the show's tendency on speechifying everything, spelling things out because the writers think we're morons, all of them can be directed into one major problem that I think the executives should take notes from. Bad series format. 23 episodes, 40 minutes each. I don't know about you, but that is way too demanding for a show with tons of special effects and stunts being put into it. The Flash and Arrow have a severe case of crippled multitasking in that with this format, both shows cannot focus on what kind of story that it wants to tell. The reason why Daredevil works is because it's 13 episodes, only one overarching story to focus on. They focus on it very well. It's contained, structured, well-paced, and it knows what kind of story that it wants to tell. They tell their story really well. Twice, in fact. The Flash and Arrow have to tell two stories simultaneously. One is the overarching story of the season, and one is the Freak of the Week story. If you do one at a time, that's perfectly fine. However, you attempt to multitask and do them simultaneously. Every episode is going to focus on the Freak of the Week formula, while at the same time fitting little by little the overarching story arc that is undoubtedly more interesting than the Freak of the Week story. Now, don't get me wrong, this can be executed so much better, like in Avatar: The Last Airbender, but in the Flash and Arrow's case, they result in the overarching story arc being pretty underwhelming and incredibly underdeveloped, and the Freak of the Week storyline being a typical boring Freak of the Week storyline that is boring, formulaic, and predictable. The point is, in an attempt to tell two stories at the same time, the quality of both stories suffer. The best part of Arrow and the Flash is always the part when they focus on the overarching plot, because that's when the real plot kicks in and things begin to actually get interesting. My favorite episode of Season 2 is where Zoom actually battles Flash for the first time and beat the living crap out of him. That was intense. That was great. I was actually intrigued. But then it goes on to your typical Freak of the Week formula. Boring. Now, after I got that out of the way, I'm going to offer solutions on combating this problem. Daredevil is the nearest superhero show that does a different format, but it tells the story really well. Please follow that format on the show because it's freaking amazing. Avatar: The Last Airbender actually does this formula, the only difference being that it's 25 minutes per episode, and it does it really well. A better format to the series will also give audiences other things to spend their time at. An audience's life cannot be spent entirely on fiction land, okay? Especially when one season of your show is 23 episodes, 40 minutes, in a grand total of 15 hours. The best kind of stories are the stories that end. If you drag them out for too long, people are gonna get really tired of you. Detective Conan, anyone? Speaking in a business perspective, this also potentially save a lot of money. If you can cut down your budget to spending only 13 episodes, you can focus on making your special effects actually look good. You can focus on telling the Zoom story a lot better. You can focus on making the characters to be more human than what they are, instead of having them stating the blatantly obvious like they're robots every single time. This is the core problem of the DCCW Universe shows that I want the executives to fix. I want them to notice this, and I propose the solution for them. If they don't want to fix this format, and if you enjoy this sort of format, well, good for them and good for you. However, if you have an opportunity to make your series to be more structured, more focused, more emotional, and generally better in every way, will you take it into consideration or will you just leave it alone? CW, it's all up to you. I'm just putting in my 2 cents. This is your show. You have all the rights to do whatever you want with it. That's all for the video today. If you like this, you can go ahead and click the like button and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.